The Boston Greeks podcast is here and ready to bring Greekness back.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Boston Greeks podcast and video show. We have an awesome episode today. We have a very special guest, somebody we know his family's background, but I won't say too much. I'm going to put it over to my co-host, Foti Stamos. Foti, how are you, by the way?
Good yourself, brother.
I'm doing pretty good. I'm down in D.C. at the moment. Boston Greeks. My heart is in Boston. I say it every time. It's never going to be in D.C.
So you bring Boston to D.C. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I do. I yell at people. I cut them off. I beep at them. So it's fun. But Foti, we have an awesome guest today, and I want you to kind of give us a little intro.
Yes, absolutely. So for me, this is also an episode that's dear to my heart, only because our guest has been, not just a friend, but also a family friend, I should say, associate, colleague, all of the above. But let's introduce our guest, Manny Frangiadakis of 12 Points Wealth Management. Manny, thank you so much for taking the time, and welcome to the show.
Foti, Ari, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I think what this podcast brings to the community is immensely important. I'm excited to dive in and provide resources and value wherever I can, but this is a fantastic start, and I'm so happy to see that this is being brought to the community.
Awesome.
We appreciate that.
Ari and I was putting together what we call the A list of all the individuals that we personally know in the Boston area that are doing great things, and you are on that list at the top.
Well,
and
Manny,
we're going to talk about what you're doing.
Manny, to be honest, my list was just, let's get the handsomest guys out there, and
Okay.
It doesn't matter what they do, but as long as they look good on camera. That was my first thing.
All right, so Manny made both lists. Let's put it that way. Right?
You guys are too kind. Flattered.
But before we dive into the interview with you, Manny, we always like to ask all of our guests, for our audience, what city or town you grew up with, which church did you attend, and were you involved in Greek school, Sunday school, Goya?
Yeah, so I grew up in Westwood, Massachusetts. My family moved there when I was about 3 years old from West Roxbury.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
I grew up in the Rosendale Church, obviously, Foti, as you know. Good old Rosie,
Yes.
where Yaya and Babu still live and our family still resides, which is great. And I never did Goya, but I did do Cathedral Greek School for the full allotment. And, I did do some Sunday school, but, what ended up occurring was I got more affiliated with athletics in the state level and in town sports teams. So that pulled me away from Goya. It's something that I regret. I wish that at this point I got to play Goya.
That's still a cool experience that you got to play sports in high school at that level.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of us got to do that, right, Ari?
Oh yeah, I was all over the place. Superstar. I only played Goya basketball, and I was on the bench most of the time, so I don't know the full experience.
And then as far as growing up through that timeline, visits to Greece in the summer, were those a part of your upbringing?
Yeah, so I believe the first time I made it to Greece was in 1997, and I was 8 years old. That was the first family trip we went. And my father immigrated here in the 80s originally from Crete, but he lived in a few years in Athena before coming to Boston. My mom immigrated when she was about 12 years old from Kalymnos. So we have a lot of relatives there, including on my dad's side. It's just, a lot of people don't know this, but it's just my father and my uncle here. Our entire whole side of the family still resides in Greece.
Where in Crete was your dad?
So my dad is originally from a small village called Magarikari, which is technically part of Iraq.
Oh, okay. Because my mom is actually from Chania. I didn't know if you guys were in the same area.
No, but we go to Chania a lot. We have a lot of friends over there. And now, candidly, when we go, we actually stay in Athena.
Oh, nice.
So I went in 1997, and then you had a gap, obviously, with growing up and family dynamics. My father was focused on, building his business. And then starting around when I was 14 again, we started going for a couple summers. And then I actually had a fairly large gap when I was in my late teens and early 20s. I wasn't really able to go to Greece. I was playing Division I college football, which was a huge requirement. And candidly, they didn't allow us to really travel, especially abroad. They kind of wanted you on campus and using the training facilities and working with the coaching staff. So that took me till I was about 22. Then I started my career. Luckily, I've been blessed to go go to Greece the last 6-7 years.
Nice. Awesome. I think that's so important for us growing up that we have that experience, because it still keeps all of the values of our culture close to us. And it's what keeps the flame of Hellenism in us alive at our age, I would say. And hopefully we can do the same thing for the generations behind us.
I completely agree. And I think that in some capacity, we kind of do lose our roots by being here, because as you guys know, the Greek and the European way of life is so drastically different than what we do on a day-to-day basis here. I think it's immensely 100%. Important. And, one of the things is that you have some great organizations that are really trying to connect Greek Americans that have never been to Greece or have lost touch with their roots to do a cultural experience and go there for a few weeks so they can, get reconnected and reintroduced to where they're from and bring those values back home.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, I think of my son and I'm like, is it going to be like when I was growing up? Am I going to be able to go to Greece in the summer, bring my son? It's like, it seems just so much more difficult. And I don't know if times are changing. I don't know if it's just me personally, but I really want him to have that experience, because when I think back, if I didn't have those experiences going to Greece, I'd be a totally different person. And like you said, I think it's very, very important for anybody who can, to have the will and the power to go and take your kids when you have them, if you have them, and give them that experience, because it molds you. We're molded by these trips. And I really feel like I am who I am because of it. Foti, for example, our passion to do like these types of things, would we have that passion if we've never been to Greece?
Right. I think there's something to be said about that. It's the energy. It's, that capturing moment when you're there, that you bring it back with you. It's one thing to say it, but I think it's another to feel it when you're there.
And Manny also mentioned on the opposite side, aside from going to Greece, when we're here, there's organizations, there's the church, there's all sorts of like relationships and camaraderie. We have a community, which again, that's another important thing. We're lucky we're in Boston and we had this. And I think, Manny, you're part of like a lot of stuff I was reading about you. So, you kind of get it. And that's important, right? You feel that that's something that people should be part of.
It's extremely important. It connects all of us. And the community is only as strong as the bond from one person to the other, and lifting each other and supporting each other. And you only do that by being reintroduced to the culture and the people that have those same values as you. As we know, we all get busy. And if you even take a couple months away, it doesn't take long to completely forget about it.
Yeah.
So for me, it's really important to constantly be engaged, to constantly have a pulse on the community, and to constantly see how we can help and benefit others.
So Manny, tell us the journey that was started as soon as you finished your studies at Bryant College.
Yeah, Bryant University. Yeah.
You decided not to go to the NFL.
Yeah. I wish. I would have a lot more in my bank account right now if I did.
I hear you. But
probably some more time off.
But you still decided to take an interesting road, which I think is pretty fascinating. So I'd love for you to take us on that journey from the completion of your studies at Bryant College.
Yeah. So I was fortunate enough to go to a really good school with really good professors and really good academics and really good coaching sessions in terms of career engagement and opportunity. So I felt like that set me up right from the get-go, but it opened the door for me to at least navigate towards the career I wanted to. I always knew I wanted to be in finance in some capacity. I was lucky enough to get an internship at Morgan Stanley my junior year, and luckily enough that they invited me back for another internship. And then shortly after I graduated, I started my career there. They actually hired me pretty much 4 days after I received my diploma. I thought I was going to get a summer off enjoyment, but it didn't really work out that way. So I was thrown right into the fire, but it was a blessing. I was able to connect with a really great team there. I was able to get some serious industry knowledge. It's pretty much near impossible to enter this industry without having some big firm background. So it drastically, immensely helped me in terms of understanding the material and gaining the knowledge that I use daily now to help my current clients. But I worked there for about 4 or 5 years. I had a really good team. I had really good mentors, people that were doing some serious business all across the world. And what became really evident at that period of time, and this is, it's a cultural issue, especially when you're with these big firms, that it became extremely evident that they cared more about their shareholders than their actual client. So the return on their stock versus what their performance was for their clients, and essentially pushing products that weren't in the client's best interest, but on the opposite side, paid them the most commission. So it was a huge void in my mind and a huge liability for my future career that I needed to address. The industry trend clearly showed that advisors were leaving as well as clients were leaving, and we wanted to be on the forefront of it. At the same time, a very large client came into our office and asked us to take over his corporate retirement plan. Now, when you work in finance, there's multiple different sides of the industry you can work on. But from the corporate perspective, and this was put into place after the Studebaker case decades ago, where a number of employees of a large pension plan lost everything due to mismanagement of assets from the company. You would imagine massive liability and massive lawsuits occurred after the fact. So what ended up occurring is the retirement industry brought in what was called a fiduciary standard, meaning that you were legally required to act in the best interest of your clients. The big firms work on a suitability standard, meaning that they could provide 2 to 3 decent options, but not provide the one that's in your best interest. So when we decided to take on that side of the industry, it became very evident that we needed to go private on our own, become a small boutique firm that took the liability off of our client's plate and the company's plate. So there was a number of factors that led to that decision, but essentially I left about 6 months earlier than my partners. Morgan Stanley didn't blink an eye, just due to the fact that I was young and I had a small book of business at that time. And I told them that I was leaving to go work for my family business, which they were totally fine. Obviously, I went and found office space the next day. I hired a FINRA attorney. We went through what's called broker protocol, and my other partners resigned 6 months later on May 31st, and we were open for business as 12 points on June 1st. So it was an exciting 6 months. There was a lot of nerves going around. The first 2 years were frankly extremely stressful to get to becoming profitable and attracting clients. And frankly, I was only 26 years old at the time when that occurred. I had a lot of lack of faith on, being able to generate high accounts at such a young age. So the first 2 years were extremely stressful, but then we made the jump and closed year 3. And, we were able to bring on some more people. So the original team started with 4 people, but fast forward to today, we're a team of about 17 people with 2 offices, and we've continued to grow. I think a lot of it is due to just always doing what's in the best interest of the client at all times, being transparent, honest, and communicating.
Good for you.
So listen, once we become profitable, we're coming to you.
Yeah. Excellent. Hey, we're here to help everyone. And one of the things that we designed on purpose is that our client threshold completely ranges. Our smallest client has $25,000 with us. Our largest client has north of $30 million with us. It ranges the gambit, but for us, and this is where the community side comes into play, is we're not ever going to be big enough where we can't say that we can help you. We think that everybody deserves help, no matter what their asset threshold is. It was really to provide a benefit for the community by not implementing a minimum investable amount.
Nice.
Bravo, Manny. I love hearing stuff like that. You're like the opposite of Wolf of Wall Street. You're the opposite wolf.
I think that, I had a different upbringing. My family came here with nothing, and I watched my dad start a business with one truck, with one van, and just with hard work and dedication. And what I really learned from him more than anything else, and I think what is true about Costas Provision, is you'll find better pricing. You could probably find better products in some capacity, but you won't beat us on service.
Well, you know what? Just real quick, just in case people don't know, your family business, Costas Provisions, and just give us like a brief of Costas Provisions, just in case anybody's listening that doesn't know.
Yeah, so we're a food distribution company located in the Boston area, right on the Dorchester-Roxbury line. And primarily we service about, I would say, 70% of the New England pizza market. And that's kind of our bread and butter. So for years, we've been able to provide these restaurants and shops with everything that they could potentially need, from cleaning supplies to toilet paper to pizza sauce and dough and everything else that they need for their operation to run. So that company was started in the mid 80s. My father is still running it to this day, and it's doing well, and it's providing a great benefit to the community. And frankly, lucky to have some amazing clients and people that have worked with us for over 30 years. And they've become, not only friends, but they become family. And there's not anything that we wouldn't do for them.
I also want to make a quick comment that in my opinion, I think it was because of Costas Provisions that that category of food service businesses exploded in New England, because of the support that Costas Provisions provided for so many places to open up and kind of given the backbone and support to get through it. So, I mean, when you think about New England, pizza industry in New England, what percentage are owned by folks that you service, right? I think it's in a couple thousand, right?
Yeah,
and that's huge that there's at least in every town in New England, I'd say Massachusetts, Rhode Island, probably New Hampshire, there's got to be a Greek-owned pizzeria that your company has serviced.
Yeah.
That's huge.
It's amazing.
I was going to say, like, my dad, unfortunately, passed away in 87, but he was a pizza guy and good friends with your dad. And I used to hear about it when I was like real little. That's probably even before you were born. And everybody has a story. I mean, you guys are part of that Greek community. I mean, not only part, but like a building block of the Greek community. So it's awesome to hear about this.
Thank you. Yeah. And it's not something we take lightly. And it's something that I've, had a chip on my shoulder and we've always wanted to continue that and to be, to continue to be a pillar in this community to support others, because frankly, we've been extremely lucky and we've benefited from this environment, and we want to help as many people as we possibly can, whatever that requires. And we've talked about this before. I mean, I think that Boston is so unique because we have such a strong Greek community, but we need to work together. And I think that if we could lead by example, I think that things change and we have stronger roots and we are here to support each other. But, it also benefited me from the standpoint that, frankly, I was able to make this jump, having that entrepreneurial background and more importantly, having a safety net where I said, frankly, a lot of people my age aren't able to do it because they don't know how they're going to pay their rent if something doesn't go right, or if they don't know, what's next if they have to close shop and file bankruptcy. For me, I had a safety net. I could, if this didn't work out, I could cover my losses and I could go sell shaved steak. So it was a little bit of a different for me, but it was a blessing. It allowed me to actually take the leap, and I will forever be grateful for that.
And you know what? Just listening to you, a lot of people in your position, many that I know myself, are just these kind of self-entitled, At least, thankfully, you have a very good head on your shoulders and you realize where your blessings are and where they're not, and you work hard, and whether you have everything in the world or nothing, like that head on your shoulders that I'm hearing right now, I see very good things for you. I mean, for you to be able to get to this point with your hard work, to understand that, you're lucky where other people aren't and all that stuff, it shows me a lot of maturity on that end.
Thank you.
And Manny, you just mentioned challenges, and obviously right now we're all going through some very interesting challenges with the times that we're living in. And so many people have been affected on different levels, whether it's their career, their profession, their family life, and so forth. Any tips and financial tips and advice you can give us during these times that we're in that you might want to mention to our audience?
Yeah. I mean, don't be afraid to ever ask a question. None of us are, we're lucky enough to be expertise as humans in some capacity in a field that we study, but by no means do we know everything. And there's frankly a lot of people out there that are highly successful at other traits, but they might not be great at their finances. So for me, the first message is don't be afraid to ask a question. For us, we don't even get to client engagement until the fourth or third meeting. So we're here to offer advice to put strategic planning in place before we even sign and say, this has worked. For us, I only have the bandwidth to serve a certain amount of clients at a certain period of time. So it's got to be just as much a fit for them as it is for us. Sure. But the first point is don't be afraid to ask the question. There's always something that could be done that might materially improve your life, not now, but in the future. One of the things going on right now is what I would say is if you haven't taken advantage of refinancing a loan or your mortgage or anything like that, I would seriously consider doing it, because I don't think that interest rates will ever go much lower than where they presently are. Just doing good financial behavior and taking opportunity, when you do have some free time to say, hey, are my assets structurally appropriately? Should my house be in a trust? There's a million things that you could look at that are completely outside of, did I buy Tesla or did I buy this particular security? That's only a small portion of, what is capable in this industry. And if you're speaking or working with someone that is only talking to you about the return of your portfolio, you're probably working with the wrong firm or individual. But there's a plethora of things that, people can look at. We have a number of resources that we do. We do a different webinar every month on a different financial topic that gets blasted out to 10,000 people. And it's ranging from, I have a new daughter, should I be looking at a 529 plan? What's the appropriate mortgage for me? Everyone thinks about life insurance, but what about disability insurance? What if the worst doesn't happen, but the worst is you can't work for 2 years? There's a number of things that we can look at that greatly affect a person's life. And frankly, right now, because everyone's working from home, perfect time to take a look at this stuff, because when you're in the office and you're running around and you're picking kids up from soccer practice, it's a little bit more of a difficult environment to, focus and hone in and gather the information that's required.
So do you see see an uptick in activity in business because the fact that we're kind of, going, subject to staying at home more often, people working from home?
It's hard to tell because we had a great 2020, and even fourth quarter for us was amazing. I think we were up 14% in terms of new business.
Nice.
And we've hit the ground running in 2021. Now, I don't know if that's due to people having more free time and having a chance to take a second look and say, hey, maybe I should get a second opinion, or if it's just years of momentum. When I got into this industry and I built this firm, it was clearly evident from all the marketing material that I went through that it usually takes about 2 to 3 years to build something before you could expect turnaround and for that snowball effect to occur. So I think it's probably a combination of the two, the years of doing the right thing and putting ourselves out there in the community, and then, frankly, just giving it time for them to reciprocate.
And you mentioned 2021. Anything in the pipeline new for 12 Points Wealth Management that you might want to let us know if you have anything new, anything that's exciting that you want our audience to know?
Yeah, so we're a fast growing firm and we're going to continue to grow. So for me this year, we're going to add probably another 1 to 2 to 3 people in key roles and continue to grow this. Frankly, one of my business partners wants to make this a national brand. It's as big as possible and take it outside of Boston. So we're on a very strong growth path. So for us is just continuing that. We've been lucky enough to be ranked as one of the fastest growing companies in the country by Inc. 5000 for the last 2 years. So we just want to continue that growth rate and continue to help as many people as we can by doing the right thing.
Awesome. How about you also mentioned that you host one of your own podcasts.
Well, I haven't yet. It's very in the inception stage. So I'm just getting it going right now. As you guys are aware, I've been doing a spot on Grecian Echoes for the last couple of years. And it's a live radio show that airs Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Now, frankly, that is mostly just market talk, kind of updating the community on what we see out there in terms of risk or opportunity, and talking about general things that are, occurring in the economy, and for a lack of a better term, dumbing it down, because unfortunately in my industry, people try to make themselves sound really smart, words that are not necessary. So I think it's important to be able to communicate to our community, about what really is going on in a language that they can understand. Yeah. So my idea is to launch a financial podcast that caters to business owners and things that are important to them, from tax mitigation to legacy planning to, understanding when is the right time to buy or sell your business. So a lot of things, frankly, not many advisors can speak the same way that I can, just because I'm living it. I'm doing it for my own family. We're doing our own legacy planning, transition planning, finance planning in terms of how the business can grow or acquire. I live and breathe this stuff every day. So it's very easy for me to say, hey, this is what worked. This is what we did. And this is what it meant for me and my siblings.
Bravo.
So, cool. Very cool.
So that's the idea behind the podcast, is to provide a value-oriented platform to provide content to these people so they have a trusted source to go to, whether it's us or not. At least they have the information and the questions that they should be asking.
Can you make sure to have Fotti's smooth voice do the intro for you guys?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of synergy here, and we could definitely combine these two. And if you guys need more content, I'm happy to just throw it on your podcast.
Yeah.
As well.
Hell yeah. Absolutely.
Frankly, have you guys guest, because I would love to talk about your personal businesses on there, because clearly you're business owners and entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. We'd love that.
Yeah.
So how can people find out more information, unless Ari, you have another question?
You know what? I have a lot of questions, but this is what I'm going to say. I say we have Manny back. Maybe we could do like a series of things, and maybe even you do it every week live on the radio. You're going to eventually have your own podcast. So maybe we could get it rolling. You could just do a recurring appearance with us and then morph it over to yours. It would be really cool.
I would love that. I think that's a great idea, Ari.
Cool. So, Foti, what were you going to say?
I was going to mention if Manny, you can tell us how can our guests in audience find out more information about your services, contact, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So actually about 2 weeks ago, we launched our new website, which is 12pointswealthmanagement.com, rebranded with new content on there. And it's still obviously in inception stages, but there will be more stuff coming to that website soon, but we did just launch it. So that's a great place for people to learn about us as a firm, me as an individual, with all our contact information. There's a bunch of different tools out there. You can fill out for a free analysis. You can provide information to us. It's a really robust platform, so we're excited about it. I'm very, very connected on LinkedIn. So I post a lot of content on there. I posted an article this morning about, what should go into a diversified portfolio. Last week, I posted posted an article about a lot of people that have mortgages but have seen the markets rise over the last couple of years are considering, hey, should I look to pay off my mortgage, or should I continue to do the minimum and use those outside assets to invest? So we wrote a great article talking about the pros and cons of doing that. So connect with me on LinkedIn. We put a lot of good content out there that's completely free and value add. So that's another place where people can reach out to me. We're on Facebook as a firm and myself as an individual. And my cell phone is out there. It's listed on my business card. It's listed on the website. Frankly, it's on me, obviously 24/7, and people use it 24/7. So I'm one of those people that I don't hide my contact information. I'm not one of those people that says you can only contact me from 9 to 4 or 9 to 5 on business days. In my mind, business goes 24 hours a day. So people could always reach out to me and just ask me candid questions over the phone.
All right, Manny, 3 a.m. tonight, I am calling you. What are you doing? That's awesome, Manny. Very impressive, man. I knew a little bit about you. I learned a lot more, and all the way impressive. Like I said before, I don't like to correct our guests, but I'm gonna correct you on one thing. We said the NFL, and you said that your bank account would have been a little bigger, but I think you're playing the long game, and I think your bank account will bury the rest of these NFL guys in the long term. So I'm just gonna correct you there.
Thank you, Aaron. Hey, look, at the end of the day, my body's already beaten up for that, so thankfully I'm now saving it.
Awesome. Alfati, any closing thoughts?
Well, as we mentioned, it's been a pleasure having you on, Manny. It's always a pleasure being around you and the family, but this is another great opportunity to be with you. A lot of great stuff, very valuable information, even though it was just a 30-minute spread, because for me, what you're providing is a peace of mind in a sense for all of us. Mm-hmm. So we definitely want to have you back for sure. Any last-minute comments that you'd like to add, Manny, before we close up?
Guys, I think, again, I said this at the beginning, but I think it's great, and I would love to be as involved as much as you guys would have me. This is a terrific benefit to the community, and I really hope that folks engaged. And candidly, I'm going to think of some names and put them in front of you guys, because I think there's good people you can have on this show.
Definitely.
And you build this out so our community gets stronger. Thanks to you guys. This is extremely exciting.
Thanks, man. We appreciate your time. We appreciate everything you brought to the table here. We appreciate everything you're doing. We're going to link all your stuff in the podcast and the video show. We're going to see you back here. Everybody, like you said, you could listen to him on Grecian Echoes, the website. Again, we're going to link it. You'll be seeing this guy. I know that he has big things ahead. He's already done great things at such a young age. Thank you so much, Foti. We appreciate you co-hosting. And like I said, that smooth voice just soothes everybody.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to see you guys next time. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. And we are out. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.